Students all over the world have had to go online as schools, colleges, and universities were forced to switch to online only formats in response to the novel coronavirus. This does not necessarily mean that students are taking to online education like a duck takes to water. Far from it. In fact, from talking to my students, it is clear that their stress levels are higher than they ever were before. Hi, my name is Anamitra Shom, and I have been teaching online intermittently since 2014, both synchronously and asynchronously. I have helped colleagues to teach online by making my lesson videos available to them and by providing them with advice based on my experience. However, teaching online in the pre-COVID era was strikingly different from the teaching that we do online now in the COVID era. Pre-COVID, students were assured of having the opportunity to meet with their instructors face-to-face if needed. I used to have students enroll in my asynchronous courses drop into my office to chat, make themselves known to me, and discuss any difficulties they were experiencing with regard to the course. Not just that, students could get together with their friends to form study groups, or they could run into their peers and instructors in the hallways, and they were taking many other courses that were taught face-to-face. Now, of course, that is just not possible. For their own safety and for the safety of the entire community, students have to stay home. This is preventing them from experiencing the joys of being on campus and is causing high levels of student stress and anxiety, perhaps even a sense of helplessness. As instructors, we should recognize this fact. In this video, I'm going to present the top 5 things or tips, if I may, that I do to reduce student stress levels. The aim is to recreate the classroom experience as much as possible to give students the feeling that they're in the classroom interacting with the instructor just the way they would have pre-COVID. The idea is to engender in students a sense of normalcy and thus reduce or eliminate as much as possible their sense of anxiety and helplessness. So tip number 1, I give students the feeling that they're seeing me face to face. Achieving this effect is not difficult, but it does require some thought. Lighting is very important. I know my students will tune out in a flash if they're not able to see me clearly. So I use soft studio lights to ensure visibility. I make sure my camera is at eye level by using a USB webcam mounted on a gooseneck stand. I have a second monitor located just behind the camera, and I make a conscious effort to look at the second monitor rather than at my laptop screen, thus avoiding the downcast eye effect and making it seem that I am looking directly at the student. Tip number 2, I build rapport with my students. My classes are held on Microsoft Teams. I join a class a few minutes before the class meeting is scheduled to begin. I look at the names of the students who are already in the meeting, and I call out to them, asking them about how their day is going or how their weekend was. Sometimes students will turn on their cameras along with their microphones as they respond. At other times, they may choose not to turn on their cameras but respond simply using their microphones or the chat tool. Sometimes they may choose to not respond at all. I welcome all of these responses, regardless of how they choose to make them. Tip number 3, I dedicate the first 10 minutes of class to discussing student concerns. I do have office hours, but as we've all probably discovered over the years, students rarely take advantage of them for any number of reasons. Devoting the first 10 minutes of class to a discussion of student concerns allows me to come to know what these concerns are and to act upon them as quickly as I can. Most of the time, it's something I can address right then, but sometimes I may have to make a note to myself to address it later. At such times, I try my best to ensure that I get to it as soon as I can. Tip number 4, I encourage students to interact with me and with the class through the chat tool on Teams, in much the same way I would encourage participation in a face-to-face classroom setting. I make sure I appear to be responsive to the chats by reading them out aloud, mentioning the names of their authors as I do so, and by responding to them in real time. To give the students the feeling that I'm looking directly at them as I am reading out their chat messages, I have a second laptop positioned at eye level between my primary laptop and the second monitor. I find that students use the chats not only to participate or ask questions, but also to make humorous comments, every now and then using funny animated GIFs in response to something either I or their peers may have said. All of this makes for a light, friendly classroom atmosphere that keeps students engaged. Lastly, tip number 5, I try to retain my composure and I remain cheerful in the classroom under all circumstances. There are times when the technology lets us down. There has been any number of occasions when a class meeting call has been dropped either for me or for my students, or when an online quiz or exam has run into unexpected problems, or when I have mysteriously lost the ability to share my screen. All of these situations can heighten student anxiety. It is important that I retain my composure, stay calm, and remain positive. Sometimes this may mean being willing to grant student extensions and accepting late submissions. At other times, it may mean being generous by giving students more time to finish their exams and quizzes. And at yet other times, it may mean some extra work for me in creating videos to present the information that I intended to present in the classroom when the interruption occurred. So that was a quick overview of the top 5 things I do to reduce student stress.